All right, welcome to the Hours. Tyler here with my friend Edward, who, if I have a daughter who loves basketball and wants to be really, really good. And so if I could not work with my daughter for the rest of my life, and I had to pick one person to say, okay, work with my daughter and help her achieve everything that she could possibly achieve in basketball. Edward, I'm saying this. I hadn't even thought about this before I said it, but I'm just checking my heart to make sure this is true. Yes, of all the people that I know, I would send my daughter to you. The only other person that pops into my mind that I might send her to for different skill sets and reasons would be our friend Gilbert Abraham. But just like trusting the heart of you as a leader and coach, and just your ability to make players better. Yeah. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks. Of course, always happy to be here, and thanks for that compliment.
Yeah, I don't think you would scream at her and tell her all of the reasons why she's embarrassing the game of basketball after a game, which we were just talking about. I saw recently, but I do think you would hold a really high standard and you would tell the truth. And I think like if I were to highlight your three strengths that I've observed as a player development coach, and I think the reason I'm sharing these strengths of Edwards with everyone listening is I think these are strengths that a great player development coach has. So one, I would say your greatest strength in this realm is you're a truth teller. It's too many coaches, I think, especially in this player development space where the player or the parent is their customer, they're the one writing the check. They don't tell the truth because they don't want to upset, frustrate, or lose the client. So one, like you're a truth teller. I think two is you understand the long game. You're not there being like, oh, we have to transform who you are as a player in the next 1 hour of this training session. Like you understand that we're building for the long term, which I think is key to being a really successful player development coach. And three, I would say you don't turn off. You're always on. Meaning, like when you leave the gym, you don't turn off. You're always a player development coach. Like your mind is always on. You're like, there's got to be a better way. You're thinking about the individual. You're thinking about the player at all times. When I would, or a parent would be paying you to do player development, we're not just getting that 1 hour and then you're unplugging. We're getting your complete creative energy and everything you've done throughout your entire life and will do. It's like, this is all the time. I ask you today, I'm like, hey, what's new? And you're like, what's new? This is it. This is like this is who this is. It's just who you are. And a lot of my local academy coaches, that's what I'm trying to train them into is like they'll show up at a training session, wouldn't even haven't even thought about it prior to showing up. Like, yeah, I know basketball. We'll do some stuff. And I'm like, that no, that's not how this works. So that's what you're great at. Anything else that you'd add to the list of things that have made you good at what you do that coaches should know?
I mean, yeah, we can keep talking about how great I am if that's what you want to know.
Yeah. Isn't that what we're doing here today?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Thank you. No, well, first of all, I appreciate all that, and for someone that I consider a good friend and a colleague, for you to say that, or notice that, I do really appreciate it. One of the things I think I've really good at that's really been helpful and continues to be so kind of funny that this is called the hours
mhm,
is all the unseen hours of little conversations with. I mean, how many have you and I had over now 8 years? All the little conversations, all the little, show me that again, what do you think of this, hey, how would you, that on their own don't amount to much, but when you stack them together and you put them in context and you put them into implementation and learn from something you asked or try to fumble it through, that is really big because they start to shape things over time. They start to change the way you operate, the way you think, the way you process, the way you handle things. And it builds a resolve to I think, let the three other things you said about me stay true. So I would say that just finding a community of people that are like that are truth tellers, that understand the long game and that don't turn it off. I mean, you and I both have a pretty full life in terms of family, other things going on. And no matter what I'm doing, basketball and the people that come to me for help with their most prized possession of their career is never far from mine. That's why it's hard to vacation. That's why it's hard to do certain things sometimes. So,
for sure.
yeah.
Well, that's good. We have to go help a team. We have to help a coach help their team develop better players. We haven't worked with the team before, right? We show up in the gym. What is the first thing that you would want to look for, or first thing you would want to teach, a group of players to help make them better? If you're just showing up in a gym, maybe you've had a couple conversations with the coach, but like, where do we start? And this is really for a coach in the off season that's essentially looking at their team. You've got a blank slate right now to rebuild and develop players. So where would you start, and how would you determine where to start?
I mean, great question. And this is all basketball related. This is no culture.
Yeah,
Um,
let's go basketball related and like really into player development more so than team development. Yeah. So anything that might have with like skill, player, and how you might
yeah.
plug it into what you're calling dynamic development right now. Or maybe that's where you start is just those areas you were sharing with me beforehand. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think where I would start would be what is something that no matter how good we do other things, if we don't have an understanding of this, it won't matter. Right. So for me, the first thing we always start with is spacing because I can have all the skill I need. So spacing would be under the player development piece, right? That's an understanding of how to move, when to move, why to move. Um, because I can have the best footwork, I can be a great shooter, I can do all that. If I don't have awareness of spatial awareness on the court, to other players' ball relationship, it won't matter because I'm not getting the shot anyway. So I think just that as a principle would start. And I also think when you put players in positions and they can learn spacing, they're actually more, they realize that spacing can create me a shot where there maybe I have some physical limitations that won't let me create shots. So now I'm probably even more motivated to then go back to the skill development piece and work on my shot itself. Because, hey, look, I learned how to just create some space and get a shot even without the ball, right? Like I can be effective just standing or moving or whatever the right decision would be relative to the spacing. So that where I would start that because without that, nothing matters.
Okay, that's good. And I would say why that's so good is most coaches don't start there or probably don't start there. And so that's the only thing you take away from our hours today, coaches, is start with spacing and then plug into that. Okay, let's dive into spacing a little bit more because I think my next question and a coach's next question is like, okay, that sounds great. The reason I haven't started there, Edward, or I'd say the reason I think most coaches don't start there is how do you teach that? It's a lot easier to have him stand there and dribble a basketball. I know how to teach that, right? Okay, everyone, right hand pounds. Let's go. I can teach that. Spacing, I don't know how to teach that. How do I teach that?
You can't teach it if you're trying to continue to run your plays in your system, you can't teach spacing because you'll always be behind. Because the player will always try to accomplish what they think you need them to do, and spacing will become a reaction to that. Spacing will become a afterthought when spacing is offense and offense is spacing. And if you can teach spacing relative to the ball, if you can teach people when they catch the ball how to make decisions, reads, and then process the decisions or reads and then decisions they have to make, spacing just starts to happen, right? I need to learn how to space relative to the angles on the court. I need to learn how to space relative to the ball action. What do I do when the ball's attacking? What do I do when the ball's being occupied? You start to understand those things. Yeah, coaches, it's the coach's job to put our players in position to be successful. And that's a part of spacing as well. In terms of skill development, right? Like I was on the phone with the coach the other day talking about 5 out. 5 outs is great offense people want to run. But if you don't have the skill set to play in 5 out, then you're playing however many players you have out. So if you have three players that can play 5 out, you're playing 3-on-5. And that comes from spacing.
Here is nuts and bolts what I would suggest as a way to approach it. It's a teaching method that I call scaffolding. I would give you three words: prime, training, game, to consider utilizing when working with players and developing. Prime equals teaching. Train equals context. Game equals competition. Prime equals teaching, train equals context, giving them some sort of a context for a skill or a solution. Game equals competition. So I would first go into the gym and identify what we wanted to prime, what solutions we wanted to give, do all our teaching prime. So we spacing. Okay. So I would pick one aspect of spacing. Again, spacing is not your plays. One aspect of spacing that I wanted to prime them for. So maybe it was just this: we drive double gaps past single gaps. Right. So I just want to prime that. So I'd put them out on the court and I would help them understand a single gap is when we are 8 to 10 feet apart. I'm gonna call that a single gap. If one defender can plug that gap, it's a single gap, right? And so I would just have them passing that single gap to the one side, called the right side. Then I'd put a player to the left, double gap. So, maybe 15 to 18 feet away, right? And I'd put a defender standing there, recognizing, oh, that defender can't actually plug that gap to the rim. And so then when I would have them choose to drive that one and go and finish a layup. So that would be my prime in teaching, they'd feel it. So they get like, oh, I've never really visually understood single and double gap before. I've never really physically responded to a double gap with the drive or a single gap with the pass. So we're doing that for 5 to 10 minutes, really, really slow. And they're just directing all of their awareness to this one aspect of spacing. So we prime it. Okay, so then next, I'd probably say, okay, let's train it now. Okay, so now on this training, I'm, as the coach, am going to be the offensive teammate. We'll have the single defender toss the ball to the single offensive player. And I, as the coach, to the right of the ball, will move my body on the catch to indicate a single gap or a double gap. So if it's a single gap, they should pass me the basketball. Then I throw it back to the defender and they try again. If it's a double gap because I move further away, they get to drive and go try to score one on one. Whereas you have that defender being guided. So that would be an aspect of training, right? Okay, then let's play a game. What's the difference between training and a game? You can win. You're actually keeping score, right? Because if we start with a game, too often they're focused on winning and not on the learning. But we do want to actually make sure that we build a connection. That's that line across. We want to make sure that we build a connection between the training and the game, right? So then we play the game. And so what's the game? It's the exact same thing that we just trained, but now you score, you stay on offense, you play by whatever, ones and twos to 5 points. And if they make the wrong read in the game, they can't actually get points. So now there's a feedback loop in there, and we can teach within the context of the game. Then once you've done that, this is how I continue to build out a player development workout or whatnot. So well, then all you do is you scaffold. Okay, you plus one. So let's train one more thing on top of that. Okay, so now let's actually train some movement into this double or single gap on the catch, right? So maybe we do it out of the context of transition. So they have to flow in from half court, or maybe we do it out of blasting up out of the corner. So they have to create a little bit more dynamic catch. And we do the same training, right? And then let's plus one the game. Okay, so now if they have a single gap and they make a pass, let's incorporate one action, right? Like a cut or a screen or whatnot if they pass. And then we play the same thing. And that's how we actually build what we call scaffolding. We make the connection again. Then we go back and give them another tool like a footwork on the catch. And then we give them another tool maybe of how the angle that we're going to set the ball screen, right? And now we've built a scaffold between our prime teaching, spacing, how we train to a game, and give them some more plus one skills. So that would be an idea for coaches on how one might try to scaffold in their player development. Edward, what would be a next step that you would use in player development to continue to build a greater understanding of spacing?
No, that was really good, and I think coaches don't be afraid to go really narrow your focus on
Yes.
that. Like, don't get distracted because when you start doing that, you're like, oh wait, while I'm here, I just assume teach this too. You automatically devalue what you said you started out to do. Like, don't get distracted, and that's one of the bigger, I think, impediments to player development is we get distracted, and it's not that players can't do something; they can't do something plus three more things like that, especially this time of year, right? So just have the discipline to really stay, and you show the importance of something by how you single it out. Like spacing is not really important if you want me to work on spacing and shooting and reads and decision making and on ball decisions and spacing. And I show how important it is by we're just doing spacing. Um, I would say also that I think for this particular skill development piece in terms of spacing, I think film is a really valuable teacher. I don't think players really have the context of this. So I think spacing, showing what it can do for you and your team is really important. I think the lack of spacing and the opportunities it takes away is a really good teacher. I also think that there's some question asking here. Players, I think, are intrinsically built to think, I have to move to contribute. And there's a true skill to just being able to hold what we call gravity, right? To be able to hold gravity and know that that is the actual action that makes the defense uncomfortable. And I'm doing nothing, quote unquote, while doing everything that's needed. And when I see players that can't hold gravity, I either think one, their coach doesn't understand gravity, or two, they haven't been made to value it. So the coach may understand it, but I haven't given it a high enough value. So I would add film Tyler to that.
Good.
And then, I think the way you gamify some of the spacing stuff is really important because the biggest gap in a lot of things are you can have all the drills, you can even teach it well enough. But if you can't close the gap from skill drill to game, it didn't really matter how good it was.
It does not matter.
So that gamification is really important. And with that, don't get distracted in the gamification. It's A/B decisions, right? So to what Tyler was talking about, the double gaps is let's put those double gaps and the spacing together. So if the ball comes to Tyler in the 45 and I'm in the corner, Tyler has A/B decisions to make. If he drives that double gap, well, then I now have an A/B decision to make. If my man pulls off, I hold gravity. If my man stays, I have to lift up to lift him up to then make him make another A/B decision. So my spacing now complements Tyler's A/B decision on driving the double gap. It's very clear what I'm working on. I'm working on reading my defender relative to what they do to Tyler. If he makes the right decision, Tyler's working on his A/B decision, and we're putting those two things together. That's basketball. And if the game is spaced properly, you're always playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3 relative to stronger weak side. Now, within that, coaches, like we talk about all the time, Tyler and I both really share this belief that basketball is a game of opposites. I know he's talked to his community about even that name and how he got it with SAVI. And two things real quick. One is not for player development, but I feel I have to say it because it's important here. Coaches, your game for you is practice, and games are practice, and practice is your games, right? So anytime we are competing, we mean my team, whether it be in a gamification, like what Tyler just showed you and what we're talking about here now, or in an actual game, all this is black light time. This is the black light showing me all the things that most people can't see. I'm not worried about results. I'm not worried about anything other than what are we doing. So in that little just gamification we did where Tyler's driving the double gap, I'm holding, grabbing the corner and making reads on my defender and Tyler's angle of attack and working on what spacing I do, what window do I create. As a coach, I'm watching going, does Tyler rip the ball through? Does he have good balance? Can he attack with a pointed shoulder? I'm watching, does Edward know how to read the ball and when to have the right spacing? So not just the right spacing, the timing of the right spacing. Is Tyler attacking the right angle? Does his footwork equal right? I'm seeing all the little Lego skills, the skill development pieces that go in to make this possible. So that now starts to create that list in your mind of what now skill development do we need? Yeah, Edward, great job with the spacing. Your catching footwork on that pass was not there. Hey, Tyler, great job attacking the double gap. You do not know how to make a proper scoring pass. So why are we getting you to drive double gaps if you can't do all the things that come from driving double gaps? So that then creates that whole process again, right? So if in that you see that Tyler can't attack angles, can't play off balance, and can't make scoring passes, guess what the next thing you start to teach, rep, and compete are? And then you find a way to do that whole process again with things the black light time showed you through the first thing you did, which was all about spacing and driving double gaps.
Three really good things that you shared there that I want to highlight for coaches. One, coaches, be intentional about moving your lens or your camera of attention around. Without even knowing it, coaches, we are victims of the same thing that parents, players, and media are victims of, which is seeing the ball. So when you're watching basketball, you're watching the ball most of the time. How do you get better at teaching spacing? Intentionally drag your focus away from the ball handler and put it on the rest of the players on the floor without the basketball. Just by being intentional in that, you're going to see spacing opportunities and teaching opportunities. But most coaches unconsciously still are not watching for spacing. So if you don't care about it, they won't care about it. and you won't be able to actually identify what to teach. So, like, move your lens. I still, to this day, have to consciously catch myself ball watching as a coach. I'm like, whoa, zoom out, zoom out here, and like unfocus your eyes, whether it's watching film or like a training session or an actual game. Like, unfocus and put your attention to the most impactful things that you'll see in games, especially in game coaching, are going to be happening off the ball, not on the ball.
Now's a great time to do it, coaches, in your off season. Your off season is where you develop that habit of focus.
Beautiful. Okay. Second, you'll when Edward gave. Let me name this first. I'm going to call it name and solution, name and solution, name and solution. When Edward was giving examples of even things that he would teach, none of it was happening in the moment while the player was completing the rep during the black light time. Everything was observe in the black light time or the game time, and then after rep, after game, whatever, before next rep, you provide solution correction coaching. That is a huge indicator of where you're at on your player development journey. If you're like, okay, let's go, tween, good, attack, elevate, get up, lay up. Okay, you're just a commentator. You're just a commentator, and that's like most player development sessions that I've observed is what it is, right? You're just, yeah. Edward's shaking his head, so he knows.
It's a video game. It's crazy.
It's a video game. It's a video game. Instead, I just like I actually just posted in our SAVI community for all of you that are members. I just posted a 1 hour mic'd up skill session that I did with players, and I watched the whole hour back as it's available for you as well. And the reason I mic'd it up is I wanted to give you an idea of like what I was seeing and how I taught it, right? But one thing that I was proud of was most of the time I was going name solution in between reps, right? Hess, get your right foot down. Ava, drop your hips 3 inches, right? I wasn't saying that in the moment. I said that in between so then they could go into their next rep with intent. And that's really what skill development or player development is. It's like, can you do each rep with more intent instead of just doing the reps and hoping to get better?
You savvy coaches have heard Tyler say this countless times, but here's an application of it. Simplicity wins, right? So here's an application of that. And this is why this all is so important, because if you just believe in your teaching, stand behind it. And how do you stand behind it? By name solution and by not fixing, right? By not fixing. Here's one that I did just yesterday on our 6 a.m. sessions. We were working on some footwork. We were working on getting neutralized at level 2 with ball in hand, getting it to the middle and turning a neutralization into almost a post up, and then just playing out of that, right? And there was some different footwork, some different angles, some different reads we were giving them. And some of our girls were struggling with it. These are high level players. And I just could see they were struggling. Not because it's 6 in the morning, because it sounds easy to do, but it's not easy to do. And Edward 10 years ago would have fixed it. Edward 10 years ago would have barked the orders louder or different. A lot of you would do the same thing now. Yesterday, April 9th, Edward said, hey, do you need me or do you just need time with it? And they know what that means. Do you need me means, do you need me to teach you this again? So do you need me or do you just need time? And by time meaning, hey, I got it. Just give me some time, man. And they all said, I need time. Great. I just kept being the voice behind the ear. Come on, eyes, eyes. I just kept helping them out with it. And they all got it. And what that does is build the trust to now they know they when they need me, they can ask me. And can you show me that again? Hey, what do you mean I got to put my chest into they'll come to me. But if I'm always fixing it, I take the burden of development off of them. Well, Ed will just have to step in and always do it. So they'll know. Right. And then I stand behind my teaching like I've already taught you. Just do it. Just get the reps.
Again, it's all just language in different semantics, but like for me, that's what the prime is. If you prime the players with the teaching so that they know that's their intent, that's the objective, then they're able to have that conversation with you and say, I just need more time because they know what we're doing. Whereas if you didn't prime them, if they didn't know the objective, right, then you'd ask them a question, be like, oh, I don't know. What are we trying to even do here? You know what I mean? If you're just doing a drill. So that's where it's so good
And
to
that's why drills kill your potential, coaches. You as a teacher and what heights they can reach as a player. Because if it's just a drill, well, it always goes to script. Start it here, finish it here, the
yeah.
next.
We're doing this for 10 reps. We're doing this for 20 reps. We're doing this for 10 minutes. No, you have an objective. Have you achieved the objective? Good. Let's get a new objective. Have you not? Then why? And let's recognize, do we need time or teaching? Right? And then what's the teaching? And that's really the what will determine how effective you can become as a development coach is how many things can you see and solutions can you provide within the context of spacing. That's going to determine how quickly players can improve and how much they can improve. It's not what drills do you know, right? It's not what moves do you know. Right? It doesn't matter, right? It's like it's more like can you blacklight it and identify the thing that is holding them back? What's the problem here? Like what's the problem? And then once you can identify the problem, they can provide the solutions. Because in reality, every player is going to have a slightly unique solution to themselves, right? A solution to the problem of finishing against contact. Nikola Jokic has a very different solution than Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, right? But they can both finish against contact. But if we're like, oh, I only teach this move, right? Then you're not allowing for what's unique and special about each and every player, which is really what player development is help them finding their own solutions based on who they are, who their defender is, what their skill set and body type is, and all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And coaches, I would challenge you under the guise of development to, we're starting this thing with our group, Tyler, you'll enjoy this. We have a list of stale drills. They're just stale. Like, oh, this was invented for a reason. Okay, is doing this at this age and stage for most coaches accomplishing said reason? And is this the only way to do it? And does this work? Is it gamified, right? And coaches, like, I would challenge you to find areas of need and create your own drill, right? And if that gets uncomfortable for you, that's why Tyler or I or whoever you'd go to is here to help you, because it shows your lack of depth. If you have to rely on that stale or old drill and go, hey, player, this is your path to success through this drill that I've always rolled out, it's so limiting to you as a teacher, your connection with the players that you can build through all this stuff we're talking about, and then to their actually potential on the court. Like, the drill is not the answer at all.
I designed the skill session that every one of our coaches will do over 25 skill sessions this week with all of our local academy players and 5 different coaches. I designed the skill session. Every coach, every session is doing this session this week, right? Within the context. Why? Well, in black lighting our team's play last weekend, I identified our players were playing way too slow on the catch. They were holding the basketball, just dribbling out of habit, not making quick enough decisions, therefore getting trapped against pressure, missing out on that split second advantage right when you catch the ball to drive it or move it. It was just too slow on the catch. That is the problem. Okay, just like spacing could be the problem, right? So whatever, that was the problem. So that was our prime. All of our teaching this entire week is okay, we want to make quicker decisions on the catch. And so then we just built out some scaffolding around that. I don't need to get into the details. That's what Edward's talking about right here, as far as like you don't start with a drill, you start with an issue, right? That you found in the black lighting in the games, right? This is the situation, skill set, Lego, to use your language, Edward, that is holding us back right now. This is the biggest obstacle. Player, and this is what I want to end with for me before I throw it to you. Player development is about removing obstacles to growth. That's it, right? So it may be a skill obstacle, it may be like a spacing, an IQ obstacle, it may be a read obstacle. Okay, there's obstacles to growth, and we want our players to grow. So how can we design in our sessions with players a way to remove these obstacles? Because there's lots of different types and lots of different ones. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to remove obstacles. We're not trying to run a workout. That's not what the goal is.
Man, I don't know about you, but I feel like we have to have another one of these.
Yeah, well, I mean, always, yes.
Yeah, this has to be coaches for you and your players and your groups. It has to be a partnership. Like, if you're going to do true player development, it is really hard. You're going against, you're not trying to create new habits. You're trying to undo old habits to make room for new habits. That's actually the hardest part. And you have to create buy-in. You know, the coaches I mentor, and Tyler, I know you do similar things, but this is like we're selling things. Like so, Tyler said the first thing you saw about me is a truth teller. It is, and we're in the honesty business. And then I have to say, hey, this is where we are. Can we agree to that? You don't have to like it, but can we agree to that? Okay, here's where we're going, and let's lay out the path to get there. So now there's buy-in, because if it's always me saying, do this because I say so, or do this because this is the right way, or do this because this is how you work hard, this is how you grind, this is that's not going to last. That's like growth is slow, but it's consistent, and once it's there, it's immovable. But you can't do that without buy-in. So you have to figure out how to let players know where they are, teach them and help them explore through questions why they're where they are. Is this where they need to stay? What kind of time do we have to get somewhere else? Here's how we're going to go about getting to somewhere else. And I wouldn't hold anything back as a teacher or a player development coach. Like I would tell them, like Tyler's process, my process, whatever your process is, I would tell them, this is what I'm going to put you through. I'm going to prime it. Ours is teach, rep, compete. Same exact thing. Yours is prime. What is it, T?
Yeah, prime train game.
Yeah, I would tell them, we're right now we're priming. I like yesterday, my kids in the gym were doing this. Look, we're right now at learning speed. I'm teaching you things. I need you to keep the rhythm of these skills happening together, but I don't care about the speed. Then we're going to rep with, right? I need you to rep. And now we're going to compete. Here's how we're competing today. I would give them that so they can know, okay, in this time, it's safe for me to do these things, right? You build that buy in. I have some safety here. Because most of the time, coaches, our language is not in line. We're telling them it's safe to learn, but then we're mad at them that they're getting it wrong,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So our energy is as if we're competing, when yet we're telling them we're trying to prime them or learn them, right? So I would get buy-in, and I would constantly be polling my kids. Tell me how that's feeling. Tell me what you're thinking here. What's that like? What are you seeing? What comes from this? What could happen from this? Much more communication, much more collaboration, less of us.
Yeah. Please take that to heart. Make sure that you have different phases to your training and you're clear with your players what phase you're in. That will allow them to improve faster. And use your language, your different phases, um, over and over again, because players get comfortable with framework and they understand what phase are we in right now, and that will help them improve faster. So right now with Savvy Coaching, we are in the midst of our player development deep dive. We just rolled out our player development course on playing off the catch, and we're taking coaches through live training weekly. We had it last night, live training weekly on how to customize your player development for your program. Head to savvycoach.com if you'd like to join our community, spend time with Mark and myself, really deep diving. How can you develop better players? Now's a great time to do it. We're doing it because you're in the off season, which is a great time to focus in on this. So if you want to go deeper with Savvy Coaching, please do that. Edward, if they want to go deeper with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So, I'm not big on, I'm going to actually do this video about this. I haven't done a lot of social media stuff because I think somewhere in me, intrinsically, like foundationally, I don't believe you can teach basketball that way. And I'm just so turned off by all the people out there doing it, but it's not about me. I think, so I think it can help. So we're court underscore sessions at everything. And we're actually going to start pumping out a fair amount of stuff for players and coaches and parents, to be honest with you, on our social media stuff. We're going to have some videos. We're going to start we used to have something called the film room. We're rolling out a new one called the foundation. We're going to show in-game clips of NCAA tournament, NBA playoffs, of all the foundational skills that are there. They're letting these players operate at a high level, and how these need to be our foundational skills at whatever level you are hearing this, and the ways we can help you, make these part of your foundation. So yeah, court underscore sessions.
Awesome. I mean, the world needs it. You're one of the good ones in basketball. It's always fun to spend time with you. This is the hours. This is Tyler of Savvy Coaching, Edward with Court Sessions. Until next time, stay savvy.